So wonderful to be sitting here covering for the Rabbanit Devorah Cohen. She's back in town, but she is not yet able to teach us at this wonderful latte and learn for women only. I'm, I guess, an exception to the rule here, and it is still a privilege and an honor to be here. This week's Parsha is Parsha Aryeh, and God says, here, I present before you two options. And what our sages teach us time and again is that all of life and all of Judaism and all of everything that we do every single day, and something that we should be encouraging our children, is we're making decisions. Our lives are filled with decisions. Decisions. And when people do something which is right, when people do something which is wrong, it shouldn't be, oh, it just so happens to be I fell on the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. It's a decision you make. And people need to be held accountable for their decisions. The Torah tells us here, look, I'm giving you options. I'm giving you good, I'm giving you bad. God gives a little recommendation. I recommend you do good. Choose good. You have many options. Our children have many options. We have many options. You know what? Someone goes on a diet. We have an option whether or not we're going to eat this or not. We know whether or not it's good for us, but we have temptation. Our children are going to have those same challenges. They have the challenges of whether or not they should do one thing or another thing. Guess what? We're not going to be able to make our children's decisions for them our whole life. We have to empower them to make good decisions. We're not going to be sitting. It's a big mistake that I believe most parents today are making, is they're trying to micromanage every decision their children are going to make. Guess what? There's going to be a time we're not going to be able to control our children's decisions. They're going to make whatever decisions they want, and that's just the way it's going to be. And they're going to have to learn consequences. The Torah is telling us that decisions is a critical element of our lives. When our children make mistakes, let them feel the pain. Don't cover up for them. Don't make it soft for them. Because we're not doing them a service by lightening and softening that fall. They lose a game, let them feel the pain of losing a game. Don't give them participation trophies. Because when they lose and they feel that sense of I could have played harder, I could have done better, the next time they will. But if they get that trophy anyway, then what's the incentive for them to try harder next time? It works the same. I was once asked by someone. Someone was their son was in an accident late at night under the influence. And I said to them, I hope you're going to let them feel the punishment from the law and so on and so forth. Like, no. We already went to the dealership to buy a new car. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that to your child? Why are you buying them a new car? They don't feel any recourse for their stupid decisions. We are all doing things every single day. Every single day where we are making decisions. When to wake up, when to go to sleep. What to eat, when to eat, how to eat. These are decisions we make. We make thousands of decisions a day, which is one of the reasons the Torah tells us. The Torah doesn't say don't judge someone. It says judge them favorably. You're judging them anyway. Learn to judge them favorably. Learn to use a positive eye. You're making a decision to judge someone. Make the decision to be a positive judgment. To drink one thing or to drink another thing. I think that one of the greatest tools we have today to teach our children about decisions is kosher. How many dozens of times I'm with my children in the supermarket and we're at the checkout counter and you have those many of those foods, right? You have those gums, most of which are not kosher. Many are, but most of which are not kosher. So the children understand, it's not kosher, it's over. The conversation ends. Now, if it is kosher, then you have a challenge of whether or not you want to buy it for them. But if it's not kosher, that decision is over. But we have to teach our children decisions are a muscle. And it's a muscle that we have to learn not to, we have to train our muscle not to just make what's easiest, what's quickest, but what's right and what's wrong. And we can't allow ourselves to just go into a flow of whatever is fine. It's all fine. It doesn't really make much of a difference. It makes a huge difference. Because then it comes to who they're going to date and who they're going to hang out with, what they're going to do with their lives. Those decisions are ultimately their decisions that they're going to make. And we're not going to be able to make it for them. So we have to empower ourselves, our families, our children, our friends to make good decisions. The Torah tells us, listen, I'm putting in front of you these two decisions, good, bad, life, death. It's your choice. But God says, listen, editor's note, I recommend you take the good decision. Make the good decision. Choose life. Think long term, don't think short term. Don't think right now I'm hungry, I want to eat, so I'm just going to eat what's bad for my health. Think for life. Think long term. Uvacharta b'chaim, choose life. How many times we have things that we look back and we say, you know what, I wish I could have taken back that decision. I wish I could do this over again. I wish I could start over again. You know what, sometimes it's just too late. Had we been empowered, how we recognize that we're going to have recourse for the decisions we make, perhaps we would have chosen differently. So let's take this opportunity that we see in this week's Parsha. Hashem, you know what? We say it in the Shema every single day, twice a day. And it will be if you listen and hearken to my rules. Right? Then I will give you natati esev b'sadcha levemtecha. I will give you good grain. I'll give you good crops. I'll give you everything. Hishamru lachem, but be very, very careful. Pen yiftel levavchem. If your heart becomes satiated and you're going to become comfortable, and then you're going to kick and rebel. Right? That's what happens. We get comfortable and we say, you know what? I don't need to fight so hard. It's okay. Just let everything roll. Let everything, it's fine. It's not fine. Because then we get into situations that we suddenly see everything's out of control. How did we get here? It's because those original decisions that led us there. So, I have parents call me and tell me, what do I do? My son is dating a non-Jew. Please help me. What do you mean? I can't help you now. What can I do? Why did you send them to that school where they're mixed with non-Jews? You think you're going to send them to college and they're going to hang around with the Jewish kids? Right? There are many decisions that lead a person to all those bad decisions. You have to go back 10 years, 15 years sometimes. We, as adults, need to be responsible for our decisions. Who we talk to, how we talk, when we talk, who we hang out with, who we choose. I'll tell you a story, and then we'll end with this. It's a true story, so please, my friends, don't hold this against me. All right? But I think I may have shared this on recording once before. But when we lived, when I was born in Israel, raised in New York, and the first 7 years after we moved from Israel, I lived in Brooklyn. I was about 8 or 9 or 10 years old, and I was once fighting with my brother, as healthy children should, and I said a word that no human being should say, certainly not a Jewish boy learning in yeshiva should ever utter. And my mother was very, very shocked and disappointed. My mother said, okay, please, go to your room till Abba gets home. There wasn't a problem. My parents didn't send us to the room. Typically, probably told me to sit on the couch and just wait till Abba gets home. My father comes home and I'm like, okay, here comes the big cheese, right? And now, and what my father did was very surprising. My father did not slap me. He did not reprimand me. He lovingly sat with me on the front porch. He sat me on his shoulder, on his lap, and he said to me, "So what happened today?" Ima told me that something happened, and I said, "Yeah, we got into a fight." And he said, "And what happened?" And I told him what happened. She says to me, "I'm not upset that you used that word. I'm not upset. I just want to know, where did you learn this from?" So we lived in Brooklyn. Right across from my house was PS 86, public school of city of New York, right? The schoolyard was my playground, right? I would hang out with Tony and Willie and all the other Puerto Ricans and Italians and African Americans, and those were my friends. That's the way they spoke. So what do you expect? If that's who I'm playing with, that's the way I'm going to talk. The next week, my parents went upstate New York to Muncie to go look for a house. Because I can't blame, my father said, I can't blame my son if this is the environment I'm putting him in. If I'm putting him in such an environment, what do you expect? No, you can't talk like that, but they can. And they moved. It was a month or two later, we moved to Muncie. In Muncie, you don't have public schools. In Muncie, you don't have Puerto Ricans and Italians and African Americans and all the others. That's the way they speak. That may be fine for them. That may be their decision. But my father's decision was, if I'm going to keep my child in such an environment, then what can I expect from them? And that's a big decision we need to make, is what environment we're going to give for our children. And that's a major decision that we need to be accountable for life. Because this could set the course of how they grow up, who they marry, what type of families they're going to have, etc., etc. So decisions are very important. And it's critical for us to make good decisions. And that's what the Torah is telling us. There is a cause and effect. We make a decision, there is a result to that decision. And it's how we eat. You know, what do they say? A second on the lips, lifetime on the hips, right? So, right? So it's like, it's very pleasurable to eat this delicious food. But you know what? It could be heart failure, God forbid. It could be, too high of a cholesterol. It could be other things as an impact of the things that we decide to eat or drink, right? Someone decides to drink and take one extra shot, right? It's a bad decision. And if, God forbid, they decide to go behind the wheel, it's another bad decision. But if we don't empower our children to make those decisions, and we're making those decisions for them constantly, micromanaging, don't do this, don't do that, then what we're doing is we're not giving them the ability to recognize and experience the consequences. And then they'll never make decisions. Let them make decisions. Let them make bad decisions too, when they're young, so they realize there is a reaction to their action. So with that, my friends, let's take this opportunity, this week's Parsha, and Aryeh, to see those opportunities, see those decisions that we make, and make good ones. Have a fantastic week, everyone, and please join us next week with Devorah Cohen, Latte and Learn, 10 o'clock Monday morning at the Torch Center, and of course we have Musar Monday at 11 o'clock here at the center this morning, and then we have Musar Monday PM tonight at 7:30 here at the Torch Center, and many, many other programs throughout the week. Thank you. Oh, and tomorrow we're beginning the magnificent Hebrew reading crash course led by Rabbi Chili, or Rabbi Chili Birnbaum of Torch, here at the Torch Center, 7:30. Register online. It's a great program. You'll be ready to read for the high holidays. 5 weeks. Go do it. Have a wonderful week, everyone.